out here in the cold one more time to show you guys a brand new drone. It touts some pretty impressive specs like a level 7 wind resistance, and boy, we're gonna put it to the test today because it is windy and cold. Let's go. All right, so we do have a brand new drone. It is from Ruko. It is the Ruko GIM2, which is a brand new product for them guys. It touts a 3 kilometer, which is a 1.86 mile range, but it's a little bit windy, so I don't want to go too far that I can't get it back. I'm gonna have to go against the wind on my way out and with the wind on the way back. Hopefully that works. Also has a 4K 30 video, SD card on board, GPS, all the things that we like. Says it has about a 28-minute battery life. Now, of course, it's really cold plus windy, so we probably aren't going to get that time, but we'll see what it does give us. We'll put that on the screen when I'm done. Now, the gimbal, they say is a 3-axis gimbal, but it's a little bit different in the way they spec it. It's a 2-axis mechanical gimbal plus EIS. So we're going to put that to the test too, see if that really holds up to a 3-axis gimbal name. And of course, it does have these smart functions like an orbit, waypoints, follow me, things like that. Of course, we're going to test a couple of those out just to make sure that they work as well. But let's just get right to it. It's too darn cold to talk about it. And we'll finish up in the studio after this, showing you all what comes with it and then my final words. So let's just do this. Man, apologies guys. My nose keeps running. It's so darn cold out here. But let's go. So first thing we want to do is we're going to want to turn the controller on first. Then we're going to turn the drone on. So let's go ahead and get that started. Go ahead. We'll do our... There we go, beeped. Now let's do our vertical. Okay, there we go. Compass is calibrated. Now, first thing it also tells us is that we have to do a gyro calibration. Now, the gyro calibration on this one is both sticks up and out, and then it should flash, let us know that it's done. So let's go ahead and see how this thing hovers. All right, now considering the wind, this is pretty darn good. It's not spinning, not toilet bowling, anything like that. It's doing a really nice job sitting in place. And we do have a lot of wind. This is really pushing it. So it's coming from this direction. So behind the drone right now, you can see it pitching to the back. So we're gonna go ahead and give this a shot. Boy, it's really windy for him, really pushing this bugger. But we're gonna go ahead and go like directly into the wind, see if we can make it. Now, I don't know if you can see the picture, but the picture actually looks pretty good here. I'll show you both of these. I really like this app. Again, I'll go into this more in the studio here. Let's just take this for a fly here, see what it does against this wind first. Whew, it's a cold bugger. All right, so I have absolutely no worry with the actual thing. I can see it, it's out there, visual line of sight, but not much anymore. So it's really clean. I have no breakup or anything. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn around because I'm afraid this wind is not gonna come back even though I'm going with the wind. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a return to home, let it come back here. Well, I don't wanna blow my camera over here, but it is coming down. It's just coming down really slow. I think it's fighting the wind a little bit. It's coming down, but it's coming down real slow here. We're down to 90 feet. There it is. Alrighty, now you can see where that came down after this long return to home here. I had it out quite a ways. And we got about half the battery life left, but that's pretty darn good because it is really windy out here and cold. So I'm gonna go ahead and do a couple of the other functions as well to see if it does. But I tell you what, first of all, that was a really nice flight. That thing was pitching hard in this wind. But also, I did notice, I thought in the screen here, that the gimbal did look like it was a little bit tipped. So I don't know if the 2-axis gimbal is doing that. and the EIS isn't keeping up with that. The image looks stable, but it did look a little tipped. So maybe that's the function of that 2-axis gimbal plus the EIS. So I'm going to recalibrate and do the gyro again just to see if that actually clears up our gimbal or not. But let's give it a try. I don't see it moving. Come on, fella. All right, so this gimbal is still really crooked. I'm going to go ahead and turn this off again and turn it back on. All right, we got to calibrate again quick. There we go. Let's do this again. Okay, we got it again. Level surface and keep it still so we can go ahead and do the gyro calibration. Hopefully that works out. And there we go. It is flattening right now. It is doing its thing. So the gimbal did flatten itself out, which is nice. Okay, good. Real nice, real nice. One thing that is really nice too is this gimbal is really smooth. You can see this thing, how this drone is bouncing around. Look at the picture here, how it's doing. It's doing a pretty darn good job at keeping it stable. This thing is going wild here. Just go up a little bit, get out of the way. Well, let's go ahead and do a image follow here first, see what happens. All right, so now let's go ahead and do a GPS follow. There it is. Let's see if it follows me here. Let's go for a walk. And it's up here. It's actually doing a really nice job. It's going straight sideways and following me pretty darn good, actually. All right, so let's go ahead and try the orbit. I wasn't sure how to get it in. I don't see it here on the app, but apparently you got to hit these two buttons at the same time and do an orbit. So let's go ahead and give that a restart and try that again. Okay, so now I got it. All right, so what you're supposed to do is enable the mode, then move it where you want it, then click the mode again to start. So let's give that a try. All right, so it's okay, so there it is above me. We're going to go ahead and turn it on. There it is. Now we're going to move it back. So we're in the center. There we are. Now go ahead and let's set this again. Now it should follow us at that radius. There we go. It looks really smooth up there. It's very nice, doing a nice job. This is going to be our second return to home here. All right, so you can see this one was about 6 feet or so off from the pad. The gimbal is actually stable this time. So you can see the gimbal is indeed doing its thing. So the gimbal is working nicely actually. But let's go back in the studio and finish this one up. Whew, I am so glad I'm in out of that wind, I can tell you for sure. Before we go through my final thoughts, I'm going to go through what's in the box, show you what's included in the kit so we have a full picture of what we have here today. And first we can see that it does come in a really nice case, nice hard case, which is really nice. So I mean, this is a really nice setup. Let's go ahead and get this out of here. We'll see that we do have a really nice formed fitting case here. We have the drone over on this side. Of course, we have the controller nicely fit. We have a battery and then a second battery here. So there is two batteries that come with this kit. Over on the side, we do have a compartment which has the manuals in it, which actually are pretty good compared to some of the manuals out there. Also do have a full set of extra props. And of course, we do have a charging cable that comes with it as well. All right, so that's the items that come in the box. It really is a pretty good kit, really. And what I want to do is I'll talk just a little bit about a couple of the observations that I had as far as the equipment. And then I want to talk about the overall function based on our test that we just did out in the cold. So first, the drone body itself is really nice. It really has a nice build quality. It's heavy. Of course, it is not below the 250 grams. But it is really well done. You can tell that it's not just a cheapy drone like some of the real low brands or the real low ends. The arms are real stiff when you pull it out and they snap into place really nice. The battery pops in from the top and the battery does slide down real nice and pops in so cleanly, it really does. You can see the gimbal on here. Now when I did my second set of tests, the gimbal seemed to work really good. And I'll talk about the function in just a minute of that gimbal as well. But the body itself looks really clean. Fit and finish wise, it is really quite good. It's a high quality. So the remote itself is really nice. I just turned it on, so that's why you hear some beeping here. But the display is fantastic. It has a very high contrast display. It's really easy to see. It also has relevant information. Like right now, it says it's trying to connect to the drone. It tells us that, and it's really easy to see. Good information, very well put together. Also, the remote itself is very, very quality. You know, it just feels nice and firm. There's some weight to it. Feels really good. The stick feedback, the tactile feedback of the sticks is really nice. And the device holder is really well done. There's little angles to make sure that it holds your device. There's padding all the way around, back, front, top, bottom. So it really held my device well. Some of them you've seen in the past where I'm using them and my device pops out and almost falls on the ground. This is really well done. So there's dials here as well that take care of the gimbal movement, which actually is pretty good, and zoom as well. And then you have camera and video on there as well. The app is really nice. It's laid out well. It's easy to see things. It does have a bar, which gives us the length of time that the battery has left. And that's really cool. You don't see that very often. I really do like that. For the most part, the operation of the app was very easy. It worked. It connected. I didn't have any problem with that. So the range, I never did get to test the full range, though it says 1.8 miles. That's fantastic. And I believe that it probably would do close to that. And the reason is the remote itself connects to the drone. Your phone or your device connects to the remote. So your device is not determining how far the drone can go because of the Wi-Fi on your phone. They've taken care of that in their own software and hardware. So I never had a problem with the FPV signal at all. It never flickered, it never fluttered, it never stuttered at all. It was very good. Now, I only did go out probably a quarter mile. In the conditions that I had, that was about as far as I could see visual line of sight, but it was really good. And I would like to take this out and do a farther range test, but honestly, I think they've done a really good job. My guess is you're going to get way beyond visual line of sight. No problems, with no dropout whatsoever. Now, I did do a return to home twice. One time it hit the pad right on the side, but it was very good. The other time it was about 6 feet off. So that wasn't perfect, but it was very good compared to other drones that I've tested. Now, the operation of the drone itself is very good as well, the controllability. Now, one thing I did notice is that the gimbal control does have a dial, but the dial is more like a switch. So I wish they would make this dial a little more analog, if you will, that if I pushed a little, it would move slow. And if you pushed it harder or moved the dial more, that it would move faster, but consistent. So if I'm moving, I can get a nice, steady cinematic roll on the gimbal. One thing that I did notice in my first flight when I was going straight into the wind is that the gimbal kind of went nuts. And then after it did that, I think it kind of lost its calibration or something. I think it was probably getting pushed or pitched so hard against the wind that it kind of gave up and errored. So all the way back, my gimbal was crooked, even when I landed. Then I didn't want to turn the drone off. I wanted to keep recording. So I did a gimbal calibration. The gimbal calibration went through. It took a few minutes. And it still didn't right the gimbal. So once I turned the drone off, then turned the drone back on, had to do a compass calibration and then a gyro calibration, then the gimbal righted itself. And my second flight, where I was going around and doing the orbit and those types of things, that one did stay pretty well. And again, even though it was very windy, it did a pretty darn good job at keeping that horizon just level. Now, of course, it did bounce up and down with the wind. It was getting tossed around. But I have to say, that gimbal did a pretty darn good job. That being said, the first time it did error and it ruined my entire footage all the way back that the gimbal was crooked. So the gimbal should have been able to take a little more wind before erroring. Now I get if it would wobble, but it should have been able to recover. It shouldn't have errored and then just stopped wonky sideways and then wait for me to entirely turn off the drone, turn it back on to reset it. I think it should have been able to recover a little more gracefully. Now, you know what I always say, the important thing when you're doing any product like this is the value. And the value is what functionality do you get for the price that they're asking. In this case, this is really a quality drone. This is not a cheaper, lower end budget drone. This is really good quality. The build is really good. They've obviously put a lot of work into the app, into the quality of the remote. The kit comes with multiple batteries, extra props, a form-fitted case. It is really nice. Now, do they have a couple of bugs maybe that they need to work out? Of course, I think that's always the way it goes, that you come out with a product and you find some of the things that maybe don't quite work right and you fix them up. But overall, out of the box, this was a very pleasant experience. So I really do enjoy it. And if you guys are interested, of course, I'll put all the links and stuff in the description so you can check it out. But really, this is a viable alternative if you're looking for a drone in this price range. So that being said, I appreciate you guys being here this long. Really appreciate your time. Of course, if you found anything of value, click that like. I really do appreciate it. Till next time and next video, good flying.
I mean, this wind is, this is definitely a good test for the wind because, wow, it's a lot of wind. Holy shit. I've got hand warmers here in my hand and they're not helping. I tell you what, it's freaking cold.